Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello, my name is Alivia Brown and I am currently a fourth year undergraduate student at UCLA studying anthropology, and today we are obviously going to be talking about ethnography. Now, ethnographies are something that I have touched on in a lot of my videos on this channel, but I've never taken a deep dive into exactly what that is. So without further ado, let's just get into it. First of all, the online definition that you guys would find, I have my computer right here, is that ethnography is the scientific description of the customs of individual peoples and cultures. Now, essentially what this is saying is that ethnography is the work of social and cultural anthropologists, where they seek to understand people and cultures in the deepest possible way. For example, let's say you wanted to understand a certain Polynesian culture. If you were a cultural anthropologist, your belief is that the best way to actually understand Polynesian culture is becoming a part of it. So you would immerse yourself in this group of people for an extended period of time, often that could even be several years, and learn the language, customs, societal organization, anything that you can think of when it comes to culture and people. That is what you would be examining in your time spent with that culture. Now, something that is really interesting that I don't think people are talking about often enough is this idea that anthropology is an incredibly broad field, and so as a byproduct of that, you can't possibly know everything there is to know. So if you decide to pursue this career of becoming an anthropologist, you have to have a specialization in something. So you've probably heard of linguistic anthropologists or biological anthropologists or cultural anthropologists. And within these specializations, let's say you are a cultural anthropologist, even that is still too broad. So often you will put yourself in this culture with an even more specific lens. So I've had professors, I've met anthropologists who are interested in family dynamics, and that is what they study in a specific region of the world. So maybe you are really interested in the family dynamics or the kin relationship of a certain culture living in Mongolia. Like, these are the types of things that you would be focusing on, and as you can see, it's incredibly specific. Now, after this period of time that you have immersed yourself in a specific part of the world, you want to ultimately put everything that you've learned somewhere. And that is where ethnography comes into play. So like I said at the beginning, an ethnography is the scientific understanding of everything that you've learned in this culture. And so essentially you compile everything that you've taken away from this experience over several months, several years, into a piece of written literature. And usually the ultimate goal is for people, the public, professors, university students, whoever it is, to read this work that you've created and learn about a culture around the world. And again, like I've said, you'll usually have a very specific thing that you're looking at. So while the food and religion might be mentioned in your ethnography, maybe if you were looking specifically at family relationships, that is going to be the underlying lesson in your ethnography. Now, at this point, this all probably sounds incredibly theoretical. You travel to a part of the world, you interact with people, and you write it all down. Well, I think it's going to help a lot more if you can see what it actually looks like. So I have taken quite a few classes in college, I like to say, because I'm a senior, but I have been lucky enough to read some ethnographies, and I'm going to share two of them with you today. I will say these were from a psychological anthropology class, so they are kind of a similar vibe. But without further ado, those two ethnographies are going to be Tuhami and the Pastoral Clinic. Now, for anyone who watches my anthropology videos regularly, you guys know that Tuhami is like my favorite book I've ever read for an anthropology class. It's just fantastic. But I want to take you through exactly what these works look like so you can get a more realistic understanding of what an ethnography actually looks like. Now, let's start with Tuhami. Now, Tuhami is something that even if you weren't an anthropology major, I would still recommend you read because it's just really wonderful and digestible. But let's just talk about what this actually is about. Now, Tuhami, that is actually the name of the man that this book follows. His name is Tuhami, and he is an illiterate tile maker in Morocco. And he essentially believes that he is married to this she-demon. And the anthropologist, Vincent Crapanzano, he finds himself in Morocco and essentially gets to know Tuhami extremely well over the course of several years. And this ethnography follows their relationship and Tuhami as he grows as a person and everything that Vincent Crapanzano got to see him experience, whether that's through his wife, this demon that visits him every night when he goes to sleep, or through other means. And the reason that I recommend this to you is because you can kind of see that it has these elements that maybe you wouldn't experience in your everyday life. And I really appreciate that about an ethnography because it really just allows you to open your mind to other cultures and honestly other ways that people experience life. Now, finally, I would like to remind you that Tuhami is not supposed to be this fun, exciting piece of literature. It's genuinely just Crapanzano's experiences that he had with Tuhami and how he interprets Tuhami's experiences. And I genuinely just think this is a great place to start if you've never read an ethnography before, or if you don't know if cultural anthropology is for you. Go check this out because it's a really great read and honestly just opens up your mind to infinite other possibilities. So now on to the next one. So just as Crapanzano was getting to know Tuhami in Morocco, we now are transitioning over to New Mexico, where we follow Angela Garcia in the pastoral clinic. Now, the pastoral clinic takes a very different approach from Tuhami. Now, the Española Valley in New Mexico is actually where the highest rate of heroin addiction is in the United States. And Angela Garcia is in the Española Valley, and she actually ends up being a caretaker at this addiction clinic. Now, as she becomes an essential worker and honestly just vital part of this addiction clinic, Garcia really gets to see exactly what people are going through. You see the pain and the torture that comes with separating yourself from addiction. And honestly, this piece of work is devastating, and I'm warning you now that there are some things that are really difficult to read in this, so definitely check out online the description that's a little bit more deep and thorough than what I am providing you. But at the end of the day, I do think this is such a wonderful ethnography, and you really get to see everything that Garcia observed during her time in the Española Valley, interacting with all of these people who are honestly struggling in ways that I could never even begin to imagine. Now, both of these together, you can kind of see that you have two people, Garcia and Crapanzano, immersing themselves in a part of the world that is different from their own and putting everything that they have learned in one space. Now, I, as the public, as a student, bought these and was able to read them and of course learn from their experiences in these two places and learn from what they learned from the people that they were interacting with. That doesn't make a ton of sense, but I feel like it kind of does at the same time. And I hope that through those two ethnographies, you are honestly able to get a better idea of what an ethnography actually is. Now, I do want to note, it does not have to be a book. This could be an article written online. There's a ton that you can read for free on Google Scholar. And at the end of the day, I just really admire this opportunity and ability to learn through other human experiences. And I think anthropologists are so under-acknowledged, and it is a really wonderful way that we can learn about different lifestyles and honestly just different cultures around the world. And I'm just honestly so glad that I can share these things with you guys. So I think that is all I have to say about ethnography. Of course, if I missed anything, leave it in the comment section down below. My sources will also be linked in the description box down below. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Sunday, and if you guys are new and interested in anthropology, I've got a ton of other videos on that, so go check them out. And yes, I will see everyone next week. All right, bye you guys.